and welcome to a new edition of Connecting East and West podcast with me, Luis Alberto Pino. Connecting East and West is an initiative by East Consulting, the leading business and legal advisory firm bridging businesses between Asia and Latin America. Connecting East and West is your monthly space dedicated to bringing helpful ideas and high-caliber reviews on the business landscape of these two regions. Connecting East and West by East Consulting is your partner to connect and make the most out of the Asia and Latin America. And I'm sure you will enjoy the next few minutes of conversation with our very special guest today, who is Aurelio Montes. Aurelio is a prominent Chilean winemaker, founder and president of Viña Montes, one of the most important Chilean wineries, which he founded in the 1980s. He is a truly pioneer in producing world-class wines in Chile, mostly in the Colchagua Valley, from where the Montes wines are exported to many countries. Aurelio has revolutionized the industry of wine by exporting premium wines distinguished by his focus on quality, sustainability, and the creation of iconic wines such as Montes Alpha, among others. He was also recently given a special recognition by the Chilean House of Representatives for his many decades spearheading the wine industry. Viña Montes has now begun a whole new chapter of its growth strategy by betting big on the Indian market, something that I know makes him very enthusiastic about. And of course, the specific matter we will be talking about on this episode of Connecting East and West. Thank you, Aurelio, and thank you for being here.
Well, Luis, good morning. It's a pleasure to join you in this event and talk a little bit about what's my passion. It's wine and the way to develop, the different markets around the world. We have been doing quite a good job in that sense. And now I have personally, a special challenge, which is, beat in some way or conquer the Indian market. After having been quite successful conquering the Chinese market, the Korean market, the Japanese market. So we think we have the skills and the knowledge to do so. And I'm totally committed with the help of my team, of course, doing this. And I hope it will work.
Okay,
That's it.
so on a more personal note, Aurelio, what does this new foray into such a large market like India mean for you? I mean, after so many decades, leading the wine industry.
Well, India, in my opinion, is the future of the world, is the treasure of the world, having 1.4 billion people living there with a rate of growth of 7%, per annum, and being quite sustainable, during time. So for me, it's like a sport. I cannot see, that sort of market, the size, the potential, the future, the growth, without doing something. I wouldn't be happy just to sit down, in my office and look how others maybe, start to do business there. I think that we deserve to be the first ones.
Absolutely. So now I understand why you're so enthusiastic about this new chapter for Viña Montes. So now digging into the business case itself, Aurelio, how would you characterize the process that led Viña Montes to make this decision to enter and try to make inroads into the Indian market? I mean, which certainly seems to be a strategic step for, given the size and the potential of this Asian country.
Well, as I just told you, it's a big challenge. It's a huge, a big country with people that are leaving poverty and coming into the middle class. That they consume all sort of goods, and we have the experience of being quite pioneers in Asia. We have been the first ones to penetrate China, which is as difficult as India. For me, they are quite comparable. The first Chilean wine in Korea and the biggest in terms of volume, and the same in Japan, and all the Southeast Asia were quite important in that area. So we think that we have all the elements to beat the Indian market through quality, through our experience, and and that's it. And I'm preparing for this year to start, a little bit of work with them. We know important people in the wine trade in India, that for sure they will be very helpful. So that's it, and I hope that it will work because definitely is the future with that amount of people, with that amount of growth. You know, they will be, the best and most powerful country of the world for sure.
Okay, something on the Indian market. I mean, and I mean, in addition to the size of the of the population, which are the main aspects of India that, in your view, make this country a good business case for Montes? I mean, going forward in terms of the their market characteristics.
Yeah, well, it's not easy, huh? To be honest, we have been studying, the way to penetrate there is not easy at all. Although it's a huge country with lots of people and with a rate of growth fantastic, there's so many problems that we have to solve in between. Taxation, barriers, even between the different states in India, there are barriers, taxes, and some don't accept, the consumption of alcohol. It's totally forbidden to promote the wine through radio or TV, so there are many restrictions as well. So we are preparing ourselves like an athlete, has to prepare for his next challenge. We are preparing ourselves to start the work that we think that we should do. We have a very close contact with the only one master of wine that it's in India, and she's an Indian woman, very nice. We're good friends. I'm sure she will be very helpful in this matter.
Mhm.
So, well, the challenge is there, and when you have a challenge in front of you, you better go for it.
Okay. So and in terms of growth, right, in India, what are your expectations in the medium term? I mean, are you pointing to a specific market share in a period of a few years, for example?
Well,
Do you
well,
have any
first of
figure in
all,
mind?
India, yeah, the concentration of let's say richness and cult people that have a good amount of incomes are concentrated in Delhi,
Mhm.
Mumbai, and Bangalore. Those are the three cities that we have to cover first. And in terms of growth, it's so small. The consumption of wine today is zero point 0.2 liters per capita per year, so it's very small. So there's a huge work to be done there. Um, we will start, of course, beginning with these three very important cities, and we have a strategy how to cover the market and go slowly. In this case, you need to be patient and give it enough time to develop the market without any rush. Now, in this case, if you are in a hurry, it's the worst scenario that you could face. You better be patient, go little by little. The best cities, the best restaurants are the best people involved in the wine trade.
Mhm. Uh, Premium wines, Aurelio, are the flagship of Montes, right? So could you tell me
Yeah.
about, uh, you know, uh, Montes' efforts to position high quality wines in a country where this beverage has not historically, been among the most popular, right? For example, are you investing already significantly in marketing and advertising in India?
Not yet. We are just beginning. We are first attending all the wine shows and presentations. I already did a road show with a seminar and a tasting with the best sommeliers and the restaurant owners. So that's what we are preparing to start by the second half of this year. A trip to meet people, the correct winemaker, the sommeliers, the correct restaurant owners, and then start our strategy in the first most important cities in India and try to demonstrate that Chile has quality comparable to the best wines in Europe and at a much more convenient price. So Yes, and we will concentrate ourselves in the iconic wine. We have no interest in, in spend time, money, and our strength in general to attack, the low price wines. We want to go immediately at the high level, where maybe the consumption will not be very high, will be rather small, but that will give us, the prestige that will in some way help all the other lines. But the first attack to the market would be the first cities in India with the medium to class to rich people that they appreciate wine, and with
Hmm.
the icon wines of Montes, and from there on things will, we think, will start to decant towards other level of wines.
Okay, well, India is such a large, multicultural and diverse country. I guess that you will begin your promotion activities in the larger cities, right? In Delhi and some others. Can you tell us about a little bit more, about your strategy in terms of how to enter the Indian market?
Strategies, as I told you, the biggest and most important cities in India, meet the important people, involved in the wine trade, the importers, sommeliers, restaurant owners, and
Mhm.
the way to build a brand in any country, including India, is to establish your wines, in the best restaurants. When you have a bottle
Okay.
of your wine in one of the top restaurants in Delhi, Mumbai, or Bangalore, that it's worth much more than many many dollars spent in advertising in TV or newspapers or specialized magazines. So the target would be big cities, best restaurants, iconic wines. And from then on, start working, and things, I'm sure that they will decant properly towards our level of wines.
Excellent. Aurelio, would you say that the Indian consumer is increasingly getting more sophisticated when it comes to wine and other consumption products, or is it just a process that is just beginning right now?
Well, there's a group of young professionals that most of them have gone, abroad to study, economics or whatever, and those people will be our first target, because they have been drinking wines, in Europe, in the U.S., in Canada, wherever they went to study or to work. So they bring, the culture of wine drinking to India. So our target would be that sort of people, to involve them in the production, in the fascination of the world, of the wine world, and they will, presumably, they will be in certain way ambassadors of our brand as soon as they know the quality and they see the wines in the best places in these big cities. So the strategy is exactly that.
Okay. Uh, Aurelio, you're Chilean, and Chile is well recognized worldwide for the quality of its wines, right? And there's been active promotion activity by, for example, for Chile and some other government agencies in that country. Is Chile's prestige in the wine sector something that is making things easier for you in India, or that you expect could help you in your efforts to make inroads into that market?
I would say that India doesn't really know, the power of the Chilean wine. They are totally maybe ignorant in terms of Chilean wine. Even Chile, as a country, is far away. For them, it's something so unique and so different. So we will have to work hard to make the country known. Chile is very important. The image of the country makes a big portion of the success of this strategy, and then involve them in what the wine production is, how romantic is, the wine trade. Each wine's got a story. They're looking for the best terroirs around the country, finding the places. You fail sometimes, you succeed some others. So all that has a wonderful story, and we are very good tellers, storytellers, because we have, a big uh, um, power in terms of each of the wines that we produce. There is something behind. There's a very deep, profound story related to the wine, to the country, to the terroir, to the beauty of the country, and to the conditions that they, as I say, Chile, it's a paradise to grow grapes. We have, the Pacific Ocean with the humble current. We have the Andes. We have, the best geographical position to produce very high quality wine. So that's the story that we have to go and tell, widely to everyone in India, especially those people that I just mentioned, and that will be the beginning. And we have to be patient. We have to wait until things move forward.
And okay, and in connection with this, Aurelio, have you, Oviña Montes have you teamed up with the government agencies to carry out a promotion activities in India? I mean, last year and the year before there was this Chile week in India and some other large cities in Delhi, sorry, and some other large cities in India. Have you participated? Have you partnered with the public sector in those promotion activities in India?
Yes, absolutely. We have been totally active in everything that relates to wine in India. We have been a part of, that there's a wine show, Provine, in Delhi. There's another show in Delhi also related to wine. As I told you last year, I went there. We did a road show with the master of wine there,
Hmm.
and we invited sommeliers and people to meet us, to know a little bit more about Chile, tell them the story, show the wines, make them taste the wines, appreciate them, demonstrate that the quality is at the highest point. So yes, we already have been active in a small proportion, because India is not yet, promoting the wines as heavily as we would like to.
Okay. In more general terms, Aurelio, India is right now on the plate of many countries, right, that are trying to seal free trade agreements with that country, including your own country, Chile, but some others as well, Peru in Latin America, for example. What's your take on the surging interest in this Asian country? Are you confident, for example, that India could turn into, what China meant 15 or 20 years ago in terms of trade, especially for Latin American countries?
Well, we think it could be. When we started in China 30 years ago, everyone thought that we were totally crazy. People in China, they drink baijiu, it's a local drink. They know nothing about wine. They don't know, or they didn't know how to pair wine and their own food. So we have the experience of trying to conquer a country where there's no wine culture. So for us, India is exactly the same. Uh, I feel that India is totally comparable to China 30 years ago, in which we have to do the work. We have to begin to show, our skills, our talent, and make the wine, known as a beverage, that it's good for health if you drink it, in small proportions. It matches so well with the Indian food. For example, the north of India, they do strong food, with chicken and with all sorts of elements in their gastronomy, and our red wines match so well with that very spicy curry, food that they have in the north. And if you move south, there's a lot of vegetables and seafood. So our white wines that we produce by the coast, they match perfectly well with that. But we have to tell them. We have to teach them. I have a little anecdote. When I went to a restaurant to show my Montes Alpha Cabernet Sauvignon, and the moment came, they put the dishes. I think it was a very spicy chicken, and suddenly, the waiter started to open bottles of Montes Alpha Cabernet. And there was a total silence in the restaurant. People trying to understand what was this? What's that beverage that they are trying to show? How would that match to the food that we are serving? And after 4 or 5 or 6 minutes, people start to relax and start to enjoy, the pairing of the wine and the food. But at the beginning, we're totally reluctant. And in few minutes, they turn over totally and they start to enjoy, the combination of food and wine.
Okay, good. Okay, really, my last question. Yeah, we are running out of time again. Of course, you're just beginning this process in India, try to open up markets in India. But in terms of Asia in general, do you have plans for other forays into other Asian markets in addition to India and the ones that you, of course, in which you already have a presence?
We have a presence in more than 100 countries around the world. I would say that Asia for Montes is totally conquered already. The three big pillars, it's China, Korea, and Japan, of course. And then we have Vietnam, we have Thailand, we have Indonesia, and so on, so on, so. And we have a very strong presence in all of them. So we think that that the work is already done, the job is made, in Asia. There's not much more to conquer there. So when we look, east, we see India. Say, well, India is our next target. That is what China and Japan and Korea was 30 years ago. We know the strategy. It worked for us in Asia. It should work in India as well if we keep on the same pace.
One question, if I may, if there's just one lesson that you learned from doing businesses with Asian countries, which one would that be? One main lesson.
I
From
would
doing business
say
with
the
Asian.
main thing it's being patient, being very, 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 very patient. There's something, as an example that I always use to make it very clear. When you are looking for success, for happiness, roughly, or whatever, if you're desperate and looking for something to reach something like happiness and richness, it's comparable to catch a butterfly. If you want to catch a butterfly, you can run behind her and you will never catch it. But if you stay still, she will land in your shoulder. So stay still, wait, don't rush. There's no need to rush. We have all the time of the world. So go patiently, little by little, and then you will form. You will be able to create a structure strong, built over rock.
Excellent. That's a very good advice, Aurelio. Thank you so much. Well, we've got into the end of our episode today. Thank you so much, Aurelio. I think it's been a wonderful conversation. We've learned a lot about your plans in India. And to all of our followers, don't miss out on our next episode of Connecting the East and West, in which we will continue to talk about the business landscape and opportunities between Asia and Latin America. Bye-bye, Aurelio. Thank you so much.
Well, Luis, thank you so much for this connection. Hope the best for your work and your plans.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye-bye.